So, hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Emily Ghosh Harris on Soulful Intuitive Marketing. And Emily is a heart-centered being, an intuitive channel helping individuals connect to their divine gifts and remember what it feels like to love themselves unconditionally and to return to unity consciousness. She collaborates with a council of light, guides, and angelic team, and in the seen and in unseen realms. Emily has a master's degree in business and spent 15 years in the business world, working for a large media corporation and also for a Fortune 500 company. In 2017, she founded Soul Media, a brand strategy and marketing firm devoted to elevating conscious companies and spiritual entrepreneurs. It all sounds very exciting. And her website is iamemilyharris.com. I'll send this link out with the podcast. So hi, Emily.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So Emily was just before we've been recording, was telling me she's in Nashville with her husband, who's a soul singer, and showing me some of the music there. It's really exciting being in Nashville.
It is. It's a great city.
What's it like there? I've never been. What's it like?
It has such a musical vibe to it, and it's also like this friendly small town feel, very accessible, which is nice.
Oh wow. Okay. So tell me a bit about your working life. What led you through the corporate world to doing your own stuff?
Yeah, I think I grew up like a lot of people where, I had the sense that love was always outside of me. So it
Yeah.
was something elusive and something fleeting, something that I got, glimpses of. And I thought that in order to get love, I needed to prove myself. And so that kind of set off this journey for me of constantly trying to check off another thing on my box. So I was very much in the matrix and it served me. So I went and I got my MBA and
Oh
I
yeah.
sort of climbed the corporate ladder. I worked for one of the largest media companies in the world. And then I went on at a very, young age to work for a Fortune 500 company and was one of the youngest directors there. And, I just had this, uh, my sights set on that sort of striving and proving and doing. And so I wanted to get, the next promotion, and it was on my vision board. Um, and then all of a sudden, things started to kind of fall apart. And it wasn't just one thing, it was a multitude of things. And I'm really grateful for all of those things happening simultaneously, because I think it was like a divine alarm clock in many senses, is just like, okay, this is the time that your soul intended to wake up and get out of the matrix and just sort of undo some of that programming and just have a deeper look. Because before that, I was very much distracted, very, very busy, traveling so much and doing and all of the things, right, that we do. And so having health challenges and relationship challenges and just kind of a lot happening all at once, it really
Yeah.
forced me to go within and navigate a new pathway forward.
Pain can do that, can't it?
It absolutely can. It's funny like that.
Let me ask you, when you shifted out from the corporate world, because a lot of people are interested in this kind of journey, when you shift out the corporate world into doing your own thing, what is that journey like for you?
Yeah, for me, it was like leaving a safety net, right? Because, and I know I talk to a lot of people that have the same. It's like, how do I do that? It just seems so daunting when you have the salary and you have the benefits and you have sort of like the safety net. It can be a scary feeling. And for me, it took me about 6 months to make up my mind. And I've got a lot of Virgo. I consider myself very like earthy and grounded in a lot of ways. And so, I wanted to feel like I had a plan. And so for me, it was about like kind of having a foundation in place, just an idea, a framework of like, okay, what am I going to be doing next? And what does this look like from, a financial perspective? And I had a few clients that I had lined up at that point. So I knew that I had the foundations of creating a company. But besides that, I had no idea what the entrepreneurial journey entailed. I had never seen that modeled to me before. I didn't know a lot of entrepreneurs at the time. My father is an immigrant from Calcutta, India. So, I had that work ethic that was ingrained in me. He's an extremely hard worker. And so, I took the leap and I didn't look back. And it was one of the best decisions of my life for me. And that's not to say that it's, a path for everyone. But I think that if you have that calling, a lot of times, fear can hold us back.
How did you deal with the fear of it, the uncertainty of it? Because being a Virgo, I imagine, I'm a Libran Scorpio type,
Okay.
and so for me, it's just like I don't like it, but okay, let's do it. Let's leap off the chasm. But how is
Yeah.
it for a Virgo planning? How do you plan to leap off the cliff?
Yeah. Well, there is that planning involved. And fortunately, I feel like I didn't know what I didn't know. And so that was a blessing for me because I didn't know like all the nuances of running a business and how there would be so many highs and lows and how it is a spiritual journey. I discovered so much and continue on a daily basis, and I think some of that unknown, it's better to not know and and just to take one step forward. And so that's what I did. I think once I had the vision, and that was really clear for me, is like getting these downloads and actually visualizing, okay, what would it feel like? What would it look like? And then it started to become real. And once it started to formulate, it's like anything, it's like once it takes shape, it's for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you, I always love marketing, actually. If I believe in a product, I have to believe in it, then I'm fine. I did 13 years as a director of a company and
Yeah.
I did a lot of the marketing and I loved it. And then I worked in another company and I was, again, if I believe in the product, I sell it. But a lot of spiritual people are opening their business, therapists, coaches. I mean, they must believe in their business, but they struggle. Why do you must find a lot of your clients, why are they struggling with marketing? Why do they not like marketing?
I think that's such a great question. I think it's true. I think marketing is such a spiritual journey, but sometimes we can get overwhelmed and, not be very clear on where to get started. And I think that we get sort of um, paralysis with all the different options that are available to us. And, my biggest piece of recommendation is just to move forward and take a step. Your YouTube channel, for example, it serves so many people. It's such a blessing. And if you had waited to, okay, I'm going to perfect this first meditation, I haven't gone back to your first meditation, but
No,
I'm
I've
sure
deleted them.
yeah, right. And I purposely, I have a podcast and, you've been a guest on it. And, I've purposely left my first episodes up there just because they're horrible. And I want people to see like how bad it is. And it's okay because that's the biggest, thing that I see with clients is like, oh, I want to start a podcast or I want to start a book or I want to start my business, but I'm scared of failing or I'm scared of, not being good in the beginning. And the truth is like nobody is excellent in the beginning. It takes hours to really hone your gifts and skills, and it takes practice and consistently showing up and being of service. And I think that's what makes, some of the most successful brands is one, they really know it themselves on a deep, deep level. And I think that is a key. And that's a part that sometimes like we miss or we sort of bypass is that process of really understanding ourselves and understanding what is the vision that I'm trying to um, achieve and who is it that I'm serving and what are their pain points?
Mm,
What are the things that they're really struggling? Oftentimes we're speaking to an earlier past version of ourselves. And that can be a really helpful thing is like the thing that, you got stuck on or you were having a difficult time with, maybe 10 years ago is like really putting yourself in those shoes again and understanding with love like what did you need at that time, like how could you have been your best friend at that time and really shared words of wisdom and encouragement. And so that depth of understanding is really important. The other thing about it is that we're spiritual beings and we're growing and we're evolving constantly. And that's the thing is like sometimes people think with marketing that it's like this formulaic thing where you can just apply this funnel or this, a strategy and, set it and forget it. And I just totally don't believe that. Like, I just don't think that there's a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach at all.
No, I don't believe it either. Actually, formulaic, I've run the opposite direction, and I encourage other people to run. Because if you've got 10,000 Reiki healers, why would you just say, I'm another one? Why not go for your uniqueness, really? And I think a lot of people don't do that, do they? I'm a coach, I'm a therapist, and so are 10,000 others. But what makes you unique?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. I think it's great to have inspiration and just, look, maybe there's like two or three people that really you deeply admire because there's something in that. They might be ahead of you on their journey. And, it's great to find inspiration and to say, oh, wow, like, look how this person's doing it. But don't get overwhelmed by that, because it is what makes us unique. And it's the authenticity that people really resonate and connect with. And so it's understanding what are the qualities that make you unique? What are the things that you absolutely love that you can like bring out into your brand? What are the colors that like you connect with? Are the vibrations? And those are all things that can be woven in, into all different elements of your branding.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you this question, actually, Emily. Uh, when I worked first in marketing, it was very British and very humble, very humble, sorry to bother you type of thing, And then I came across a more American way, which was just like long sales pages and testimonials and video testimonials. And here's a clock counting down. You've got to buy it in the next 2 hours. And it went on and on and on and on and on. And a friend of mine, I've had endless conversations. He's convinced that this is the best way to do it, that statistics show that these long, boring sales pages work. What do you think about that? Because I like the middle way. I like not all these long, boring, not too short and humble, but somewhere in the middle that says what you are without kind of driving it home. What do you
I
think?
to-
Or am I wrong here?
yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm a middle of the road, like take, the sweet spot approach because, people get fatigue and honestly, like there's just too much emphasis on like we talked about before is like this formula and it has to work for you and you have to resonate with what you're saying and so if you're just saying a bunch of words just because you need to like fill up a quota of content it's just not going to connect in the way that you want it to and
Yeah.
so building I believe in the foundational elements like the building blocks like and the thing is, like, this happens quite a bit is, okay, I have a website that I want to create and it seems overwhelming. Like, how do I get started? Do I work with a developer, designer? What content do I put on there? And it doesn't have to be that overwhelming, because you could start with a beautiful landing page, which is a one page, microsite that has all the elements that share a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and it connects in a meaningful way. And that's more powerful than this, cumbersome, bulky site with all these pages and content that isn't really a part of you or your brand.
No, yeah, exactly. Totally. Well, I've got a friend in London. She runs a company called Serendipity PR, I think it's called. And she said to me, I thought it was a great, she said to me that social media opens channels for spirit. And I
Mm.
thought, yeah, that's a great idea that people find you. That's if you've just got one way that spirit can lead people to you, then there's just one channel they can lead you. But if you open 20 channels, and then spirit can say, check the Twitter, check the Facebook, and inspire people to go and find the right. What do you say about that? Because a lot of people are frightened of social media. They get overwhelmed again by social media. But I think it does actually open channels for spirit to help people to find you.
It does absolutely. And the people that are meant to find you will find you. And we have to trust that. It's so important. And it is. I love that. I love that saying. And also when people do get overwhelmed, one thing that I recommend is to focus on a channel and do it exceedingly well. You've got all these channels, but like, look at your YouTube. You really like cultivated that and put a lot of energy and love into that. And people love it. It's a resource, go back and you bookmark and you subscribe and you go back and you find that that content there. So I think that that's important if you're feeling like I got to do the Twitter and then I got to do the TikTok and I got to do, all of the things. Is like start with one channel. I think the most important thing is content creation. And that's another thing where people are like, oh, I'll outsource that piece of it. Or, I don't really have time to create my own content. And I think that's a piece that, is really important is we are content creators. We're creative beings and, really thinking of ourselves as thought leaders. Because you have an important message and only you can deliver it in the way that will touch, your specific audience. You have, a specific lens, a specific blueprint. And that's very important to hear your perspective on things. And so I think we underestimate, oh, so many people are saying this thing, right? So I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to spend that time. But that's really the way that you're serving an audience is through the content that you're creating in some way, shape, or form. And I think that there has to be a component where you're giving that, you're being of service, you're, providing to the, to the world in the special way that you can. And so that there's not just this element of everything needs to be paid or, there's a high ticket item, to work with me, but it's like, okay, what do I really want to share that can be of value?
Yeah, I kind of feel ongoing conversation is important. I like the conversation. Like meditations are a conversation. Here's my meditation and enjoy it. It's like a constant conversation with the audience. And this is something I enjoy. And blogging, of course, is one aspect of that, and you can have so on my website, they've got blog posts, but you can embed YouTube videos or podcasts or write, can't you? And so do you encourage people? I think you are encouraging people, just content, conversation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of intuitives, healers, star seeds, it can be like overwhelming. Okay, how do I get started with that? Create sort of like a formula for yourself that makes it easy to share. Like, I don't know if you, Steve, have a way of like, okay, in the mornings, I'm going to get up and do my meditation, but it's like, even if you cultivate this time where I'm going to just share whatever my message is, whether I'm going to go on a video and I'm going to share, I'm going to write down my thoughts in a blog, or I'm going to record a meditation, is like a beautiful practice of I'm just going to share what's on my heart right now. And it becomes something that you can do over time. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you have all this beautiful content that is really helping people and inspiring people. It's what the world needs right now.
Yeah. Well, I do all these meditations, and when I do them, a week later, I've forgotten what the whole thing's about. And so I have to go back and go, oh yeah, I need that one now. And I'll have to listen to it myself, And
Yes.
I think it's a great way of becoming whatever's within us, to articulate it, to write it, to speak it, makes it clearer. And this is what I find. It's clearer in my mind once I've spoken it and shared it with the world, really. So
Yes, I love that you're saying that. And I think that there's a learning curve in that because sometimes we don't look at ourselves as teachers. It's like, oh, I'm consuming content and I have an opinion on this. But I think we all have something to teach. And that's a beautiful thing is like the more that you do it, you realize, oh, wow, I have a unique perspective on this. Or like you said, when I go back and I share, it's like, oh, wow, it becomes even more solidified in my mind and it's able to benefit me as it benefits others as well.
absolutely. So let's say someone's employed, but they have a vision, they have a purpose, they have something in them they want to bring out. What would you advise them as a starting place? Because I know you've been through the journey of the Virgoian planning journey, but what would you say generally to people who are planning that journey?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to visualize. And I think it's a step that we maybe overlook sometimes. But like I've been reading a lot about this lately. And, Laura Day has a great book that's an older book called The Circle, and it's about the power of a wish. And I've been reading, a few other books on like wish rituals and the power of a wish. And I think it's a really beautiful practice is sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be in the state of receiving and really allowing to imagine what would that look like and what would that feel like for my dream to come true and get
That's
really
yeah.
excited about it because if we here's the key, right, is if we can't visualize it, it's very hard to manifest it. It's very hard to create it. We have to be able to see it first and
Yeah.
focus on it and really be in that state of receiving. And so I think that's important to give time and space to allow for that and get very clear on what that looks like, because there's multiple timelines. And I think that we can align to our highest timeline potential when we remove the fear and the clutter. So I think that's an important part of it. I think fear is the number one thing that holds us back. Bronnie Ware has a great book, which is like the 5 regrets of the dying.
Oh yeah, Meta. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would love to connect with her. And I, the number one regret is like, I wish I had the courage to live a life that was more courageous and more authentic to me. And that
Yeah.
always stuck. I always remind myself of that.
Yeah, I can imagine that if I'm at the end of my life, I'm not going to be thinking, I wish I'd spent more time in the office. I
Totally.
wish I'd done what I'd meant to do. I kind of think, is everything, was it Wayne Dyer says, don't let your song die with you or something. I think it was something like that. I like the
Inside of
idea
you.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
inside of you. I like the idea that when I'm, 30 years time, I'll be 93. And I look back, I go, I've written all the books I want to write. I've done all the meditations I want to do. I've done everything I can do. And then I can go and I feel complete.
Ah,
That's the
yes.
feeling I want.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think everybody wants that innately, is like, to leave it all out on the field, and to know that because we all have a divine purpose. And I think it's, getting in touch with what our unique divine purpose is and having the courage to be able to express and bring that forward. So I think visualization is a key part of that, and understanding that you are a brand. And I don't mean that in, a cheesy way, but I just mean that like you have a unique blueprint that is, have fun expressing it, be creative and have fun and
Oh
play with
yeah.
that.
I use my socks. I don't know if you've seen my sock videos. Have you ever seen my sock videos?
I haven't. I have to check
Oh,
this
you should
out.
go on Instagram. People like to see my socks. Here we are. Here's my daily offering. They're
Oh
my
my gosh, flamingos. These are
flamingo
amazing.
socks.
Yeah.
I create videos with my socks and put little messages in with my socks. People love them. I get more views on my videos with socks than anything else.
I love that. Yeah, because you're bringing your like quirkiness and your personality forward, and people love that. They want to know like who you are. I always say like reality television is so like outdated. Nobody cares about that anymore. People want to know vulnerability. Vulnerability is such a superpower. So to be able to bring that forward is like what is tugging in your heart right now, and being able to share that is so, so powerful.
That's
You know,
amazing.
yeah.
Can I ask you finally, what is the work you do with people? Let people know, what do you do with people when they come to you?
Yeah, one of the things is really creative strategy and being able to take somebody's natal chart, take their inner blueprint, and create a roadmap for bringing their gifts and talents out into the world, creating a formula through business and marketing that really touches the soul, and making it fun and accessible and creative. I think creativity is like something that we should be cultivating on a daily basis. So that is something that I absolutely love doing, is making the journey fun and creative and playful, and to be able to really allow people to shine their light in the world.
Well, I guess you help everyone, all of their astrology charts. I'm a Libran sun, Pisces moon, Scorpio rising, Virgo midheaven. I'm a Virgo midheaven.
Ah, yes.
North node, Scorpio 12th house. So all of that adds up to, I'm wondering, am I on the right track, Emily?
Oh my gosh. Yes, you are. I have a Pisces moon as well. And
Oh, okay.
yeah. Oh, that's a great combination for you. You've got like the air, Libra, curiosity, playfulness, relationship builder, and then that depth in the 12th house, that intuitive, depth and gifts, and your north node. I'm sorry, your midheaven kind of keeps you on track and
Yeah.
grounded and moving forward. And
I need a
yeah.
structure. I need a structure for my business. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to know that. One thing that I've been really focused on right now is the missing element. And this is a practice by Deborah Silverman, who's a famous astrologer. And it's really understanding, all of the signs are in certain elements, earth, air, water, and fire. And understanding what element is your strongest and which ones that you maybe need to cultivate. And this
Mm.
is such a life-changing practice, honestly. So there might be something where you don't have a lot of earth in your chart, or societally you don't feel very grounded. And there are practices and ways that we can cultivate and bring that forward. So whether it's grounding practices or just being in the earth, or, practicing making a to-do list can help us feel a lot more grounded. Sometimes people really need to get in touch with the water in their chart and feel, and they're not allowing themselves to feel that emotion. And it's amazing when you discover what your missing element is, and you're able to bring that forward a little bit more, how you notice changes in your internal world and in the world around you.
That's amazing. I mean, I studied astrology just a year, in a college, and then ever since then I've been an amateur looking at charts and friends' charts and everything.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it. I'll have to check that out. So
Yeah, I would love to know what you think your missing element is. Like for me, I have a good amount of fire in my chart, but I think, societally and culturally it's been repressed a bit. So that's one that I've been like focused on, just even like not thinking as much before I speak, or, dancing, and just that element of like creative, expression. And yeah, that fire, like getting in touch with is so fun to bring that forward.
fantastic. Well, I'll check mine out. I think I'm balanced, but I think actually fire is probably the one where I do also need a bit of more oomph, I think. But well, look, Emily, it's been great talking with you. Your website is iamemilyharris.com. I'll put it out with the podcast, and it's lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much
So
for
much
joining me.
fun. Thank you so much, Steve. This has been awesome.